What's up guys, Ashton back again from Without Code, and welcome back to another tutorial video. Today we're going to dive into our new search widget for the Without Code website builder. Now this is a widget we've gotten a lot of requests for, and it was a really big widget build for us, so we're excited to roll it out to you all. We've spent a lot of time and effort to develop this widget in order to make it as powerful and useful as possible, as well as offering several different ways that it can be implemented on your site. This is also our first Pro widget for the Without Code widget library, so if you're a Pro member of our site, you now have immediate access to incorporate this on any page you want. On the live demo here, as you can see, we're actually looking at a spreadsheet, and this is the crux of how this widget functions. The spreadsheet is how you're going to control exactly what content on your site is searchable and how it appears in the results for the viewer. The search function needs to look through data in order to return search results, and that's where this spreadsheet comes in. Think of the spreadsheet like a neat and tidy way to control exactly what will show up in searches, which actually gives you a lot more control than you might expect with a regular search widget. As far as implementing it onto your site, as I mentioned, there are a few ways that you can do this, all of which we can demo here. The first one shows results on a new page, so let me click into this. And let's do a simple search that would apply here. We'll go with beach. And the browser completely reloads with a full search results page, showing us pages and content matching the word beach. And we've done a great deal of testing with this widget, specifically with this setup, and we found this method to load very quickly, very consistently in the browser with hundreds of examples that we've tested. Real quick, I'm going to go back to those demo options because I do want to show all three of these, as this will be retouched on later when we're going through the settings and the setup process. Here on dropdown, let's click into this example. And we'll do the same thing with beach. And even as we type here, we can see the results populate in a drop-down menu here, which of course would be clickable to the corresponding pages as you've set them up in your spreadsheet. It's pretty cool. Here in these results, you can see that we get titles and brief page descriptions visible. And since we're using the spreadsheet as our search core in a sense, all of these results you're seeing are totally customizable. You can set it to show off as much or as little as you want, including images, longer descriptions, all kinds of good stuff. Going back once more, let's go with results below input. Going with a beachy search again here. And as you might imagine, here on the same page, we get an extension of our page here with the results populating directly below the search box. So three separate but equally effective ways to set up on your Without Code website. So we're going to switch over to the builder in a moment and do a full walkthrough of how to set this up, and I'm going to try to be as thorough but concise as possible. And of course, feel free to rewatch any parts that you might want slowed down for further clarification. Keep in mind that this isn't the type of widget that you want to just drop on the site and call it good. As I mentioned earlier, it will utilize the spreadsheet to find the search criteria for your site, and you'll want to give some thought to what you want the search to cover. Now, while you could have it search the entire site, we think this widget is best suited for portions of a site, like staff directories, or a product database, or a list of vacation rentals as we've mocked up here for our live demo. Bottom line, you'll be using this spreadsheet to manage the search, so whatever you want to put into the spreadsheet, that's what's going to be included in your search results. Let's switch over to the Without Code website builder. I've got the same vacation rentals set up here that we saw in the demo, but I've removed the widget from the pages so that we can create it from scratch. We're going to start with this page here where we're going to implement our drop-down version of the widget. We have a gallery of mock rental listings set up here, and now we want to add a search function to go with it. So let's jump into the widget library. We'll scroll all the way down to advanced, grab our Search Pro widget out, and drop it onto our page above our gallery. There we go. Looks pretty harmless, and it is, don't worry, but we've got some setup to do first before this is ready to test. As I mentioned earlier, this is a widget available exclusively for Pro users of Without Code, and the widget will automatically authenticate itself for Pro users when you attempt to install it on your page. So if you see any kind of error message about access limitation when you drop the widget onto your page, consider checking out our Pro membership with access to all kinds of awesome features. Now we of course want to add some styling to this widget a little later as well, because as of right now, all we can see is the word search. But if I hover my mouse on it, we can see the widget itself stretches pretty wide. So I'm going to size the box down by taking the blue handle here in the bottom right corner, and we'll drag it back just a bit. That's better. And it's also centered, so I want to align this to the left of the row. So we can either do that by dragging it left or simply right-clicking on it and selecting Align Left. There we go. Keep in mind that the widget itself will represent the location of the search box as it does here, and would also represent the location of the results depending on which results method you've selected, and more on that soon. Let's take a look in the settings panel.
Hey, Norman here, and I just wanted to quickly jump in and mention that since this video was originally published, we've made a pretty important update to the widget. This update adds Airtable as an additional source for your search data. However, you still have the option to use the Google Sheets if you want to. I just wanted to quickly walk you through the process of getting your Airtable access token, which you could then use in your search widget. You can access and create tokens by making sure you're logged into Airtable and going directly to airtable.com/create/tokens. So now that we're on the personal access token page, we can click the blue create token button. From here, we have a number of options. We'll start from the top. We want to give this a name. You can name this whatever you'd like. For this example, I will name this tutorial token. Following that, we'll have our scopes option, which just basically means we'll set the permissions of the token. We can click add a scope, and we'll want to make sure that we select read and write. So data.recordsRead, data.recordsWrite. Below that, we have our access permissions. This is where you can set which Airtable bases this token can access. You can pick a specific base, however, for the sake of simplicity and unless otherwise specifically needed, we can select the all current and future bases for this workspaces option. And now we can click create token. Your token will be created and shown in the pop-up, and we can copy that token and head back into the builder and paste that right into the token field. And now back to the originally scheduled programming.
Unique ID is our first option. As with many of our widgets, just give a unique name to the widget here so the browser can recognize it as its own unique element. Next option is our Google spreadsheet URL. Now this is important. It's where you're going to enter the URL of your very own spreadsheet. Now we've included a convenient template here, so let's give a click to that. And we get a perfectly formatted spreadsheet that you can use for your own site. And I'm going to cover exactly how to set that up a little bit later in this video, but for now, let's get back to the widget. I'm going to leave the spreadsheet URL as is, since I'm just covering the actual widget parameters first, and we can preview with the default spreadsheet for now. More on the spreadsheet customization coming in a little while. Next up is search type. Now for this first example, we're going to leave this on drop-down search, since I mentioned we're starting with that setup. I'll explain the alternatives in a little bit, don't worry. Last two sections here allow for more customization, so let's go into search input configuration. This is a simple one, and of course reflects where the user will input their search. All that's here is the text that will display in the box as default, which right now is search, obviously, but available to you to change if you want something else or perhaps you want it in a different language. Now let's go into search results configuration. A handful of options available to you here. First, we have number of results to display and number of description words to display. So feel free to customize both of those. We'll keep these as they are, and would probably be best not to go over the top with these in the case like this where we're using a drop-down for search results, because we don't want it to be too overwhelming. And then we have toggle options here for images in case you've incorporated any on the spreadsheet, which we'll cover soon, and descriptions. And finally, an option for when the results are clicked, whether you want them to load in the same browser tab or a new one. We can leave all these settings as is for right now. Let me jump over to the design section of the widget panel really quick. I'm not going to spend too much time here since we have a lot to cover in this video, and most of this is pretty self-explanatory, but feel free to customize the visual of the search box here. We've got your input styling here. Let's give a white background color to the input box just so it's more visible in our row here. There we go. And also let's scroll down and add a small border with maybe a soft gray color, just so it kind of pops off the page a little bit more. There we go. And finally, we have the results styling. Again, most of this is self-evident, but feel free to adjust as needed. You've got a maximum pixel height for your search results, background settings, image sizing, and text styling for both the titles and descriptions. Let me close out of this and switch over to preview mode, just so we can see everything functioning as is. And we'll do a search with the word mountain, since it's another topic that I know we've included in our results spreadsheet. And already as I type, like we saw before, we can see results populating in our dropdown just as we've said it. Awesome. Okay, let's jump back into editing mode. And I'm going to switch to a different page now where I'm going to incorporate a search widget with the results showing below the widget. We've got several imaginary vacation rental listings mocked up here just as before, and in this example we want to put a search widget above the list to show results just beneath it on the same page. So same as before, let's dive into the widgets panel, grab the same widget, and drop it onto our page above our property list here. Awesome. I'll leave the sizing as is for now, and let's jump into the panel and do another quick setup. The only major difference here for this style of search is going to be here under search type. Instead of drop down, we're going to go with regular search. And when we do that, we get an additional option added here below. So let's drop down this option panel. And the option we want this time is search form plus results below form. Those other two will come into play on our third method, and we'll cover that shortly. Now when we do that, you'll notice an addition of a search results placeholder element here beneath the widget in the editor. Now you don't need to worry about this, and you don't need to adjust your sizing settings with this in mind. It's not going to show up on the site as published. So even if it's cut off or something in the editor here, the widget will adjust in the browser and will push down all the content as needed to make room for the results as you've set them. Again, we'll leave the same default spreadsheet for now, as we're going to cover that last. And really quick, I want to go back into search input configuration. We've got a couple new settings here available now that we've changed the type of search we're doing. This is an option here to display a submit button, which is toggled on for now. This is referring to this little magnifying glass icon we're currently seeing here in the editor. And beneath this option, you can configure said icon. This button label dropdown allows you to select an icon, a label word, or both. And both of those are customizable beneath that, where you can determine the exact wording of the label, if it's enabled, and the exact icon you want used, whether it be by icon selection here in the builder or custom upload. So lots of freedom here, as you can see. For now, let's just jump into the design section really quick, because I do want to give another white background once again to the input field, just so it stands out with our color scheme here when we preview. And I'll also give a white background to the button styling here as well, since we've got one of those visible on this version. The rest I'll leave as is, since we've covered most of this already. Now I do want to give this one more preview, but in the case of this configuration, we do need to give it a publish. Since we're dealing with a placeholder element here, this preview function simply won't show this properly. We need to publish it to get rid of the placeholder and get the full effect of the widget. So let me click republish. And we'll click into our actual site. And let's do a search for beach. And there we go. The widget nicely makes room for our results just beneath the search box, pushing down the rest of the site content with ease, and everything's functioning perfectly. We've got one more method to run through, so let's jump back into the builder once more. And I've got a third page here where we're going to set up another similar search widget, but this time we're going to set it to display the results on a completely different page altogether. So back in the widget library, let's grab the same widget once again and drop it onto our page above our vacation listings. And inside that panel, we're going to go to search type and select regular search once again. But this time we're going to set the search options to be search input only. That's telling the widget that the results will be independent of this page, and this instance of the widget is acting as the search input only. Now when we do this, we have to designate a page where we want the results to appear. And I've got another page set up that we're going to add that widget to, a results page. Here we go. And same with the input, we need to add the widget here as well. You need two instances of the widget on your site in the case that you're having the widget display the results on a separate page. So back into the library, we'll drag out the same widget once more and drop it here on our results page. Search type will be regular search again. And for search options, instead of input only, we're going to select results container only. There we go. And you are able to use separate unique IDs for these two instances, just FYI. Now the only thing that should be visible here now is the search results placeholder that we saw before. Now the very last step in this configuration is to link the two. So let's go back to the input page, into the widget panel again. And as stated here in the widget, we need to select a local page on the site with another instance of the search widget placed and configured as results container only. And we just did that. And now we need to identify that page here. So let's click. We'll go to existing page and select our results page. Beautiful. Let's publish this once more. Okay, and we'll do one more search for beach, and we'll click the search icon or simply hit enter. And you can see we're immediately redirected to our results page where everything is displaying beautifully. Okay guys, so we've thoroughly covered the inner workings of the widget itself, and the last step we need to cover is the spreadsheet and how to create your own. So let me click back to my original page for the drop-down search configuration that we did first. and into the widget panel once again. As I mentioned earlier, there's a link included here for your convenience, taking us directly to a spreadsheet template that's already formatted and ready to go for this widget. So let's give that another click. And here we have our search criteria template, which as we can see is a view-only example. What we need to do is make a copy of this spreadsheet for us to edit on our own. And this process will be familiar to anyone that's ever used any of our Google spreadsheet widgets in the past. All we need to do is go up to File and select Make a Copy. And then we'll just give it a name, Ashton's Search Criteria. Perfect. And click OK. And once you do so, you're given an exact duplicate of the spreadsheet, now editable with your own site's content. And this will be the master search criteria spreadsheet for your site, so edit it accordingly. Enter new titles, descriptions, tags, etc. Just remember not to change the structure of the spreadsheet and you'll be good to go. And as you can see here, you're able to add images as well. They just have to be hosted on the web somewhere, and I'm going to cover how you can do that directly in your builder in just a moment. But before we can use our spreadsheet in the widget, it needs to be published to the web. This is how the widget will be able to access the spreadsheet and recognize updates you make in real time. So we're going to go to File and Publish to the web. And you can leave all of these settings here as default. You don't need to revise anything, and don't set this to be a CSV as some of you may have expected. Just keep it default and click Publish. And that's it. Now to get your active Google spreadsheet URL at any time, just click the Share button in the top right of the page. And you can click here to create a shareable link if need be. And your link is generated just like that. We can now simply click Copy Link. And you'll want to make sure that you get the link exactly how I just showed you, not by simply copying it from your URL bar, because it might differ and it would prevent the widget from functioning properly. So now that we've copied it, we can go back into the widget and paste the new link into our Google spreadsheet URL field. Very last thing I'll cover are those images that I mentioned a little bit ago. You can add images into your spreadsheet as long as they're hosted on the internet somewhere. Now you don't have to use images if you don't want to, but if you do, you can use any image hosting service that you want, such as Flickr or Dropbox, or you can host them on your own site's server right here in the builder, and here's how to do it. We're going to click to Content in our left sidebar here, and click to Manage Images. Now chances are you've already done a bunch of work on your site and you've probably uploaded content of your own that you may want to use, and you're going to find that here in your site images. Alternatively, you can click Upload right here on the top left to add more images. But once you've got your content uploaded, all you need to do is acquire the direct link for your desired image. I can use this beach image here as an example, so let's select it. And when we do, we can see more details pop up here on the right-hand side of this window. And here where it displays the name of the image, let's give that a click. And when you do that, the browser will open the full image in a brand new browser tab. And the URL that's generated when you do that is your direct image URL hosted on this server. So simply select the URL and copy it. And then we'll paste that into the image column of your spreadsheet on the applicable line. Okay, wow, thanks for hanging in with me on this one, guys. This was definitely a more lengthy video than normal, but this is a complex widget and was deserving of a little extra attention. So feel free to rewatch any parts where you need more clarification. And of course, if you're having any issues at all, don't hesitate to reach out to us in support for further assistance. Have fun with our new search widget. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Take care.